Hello, this is Mama Jess, everything you wish your mother told you. I've recently taken note that certain podcasts are censoring the word rape, suicide, and death. They almost treat it like the F word, where they'll put little symbols that you know what the word is, but they're not saying it implicitly. And of course, that is concerning to me because here we go again. We're dealing with more censorship. And we're removing words that we need in order to communicate, especially the severity of situations. So we would all agree the word rape generally has to do with physical violations. But I think it's very important for you to understand that there's also a rape of the mind that can take place when you're around certain people or certain institutions or government or cults. It's not always easy to see. And so I'm wanting to talk about that because I see this country right now, especially ever since COVID, there's been a radical shift in people being so opinionated and divided and angry that I'm seeing a tyranny it's coming not only from the government realm, but also from the citizens. And it's just a general run-of-the-mill type tyranny. We could call it narcissism, but it pounds you. It is a penetrating, pounding fight to talk with someone like this, where they're adamant that their way is the only way and you must conform or suffer the consequences of their tantrum. And I know we've seen a lot of that online. But I wanted to introduce you to this book. It's called The Rape of the Mind by Joost Meerloo. It was written in the 1950s. He was a psychotherapist. And he was very aware of the menticide, as he calls it, the brainwashing, the mental coercion that the communists and the Nazis did to people. This is by far my favorite book, and it made sense of my entire existence being raised from my youth in Santa Cruz, because I was already dealing with that democratic socialist, which to me is like the grooming phase of communism. They got to kind of slowly move you into totally dominating your life. But that's where I was introduced to moral relativism, that there was no more objective morality. People could more or less do whatever they want because they have their rights. There was a real strong push, of course, of the gay movement in Santa Cruz. I lived on a block of quite a few gay individuals. And so I saw a lot of this before. Now it's become really popular now in the last few years in mainstream America. And what I know about that environment is that you do have to lose your mind. You're not allowed to have logic. You're not allowed to disagree. You're not allowed to have any establishment of a hard and fast objective morality. And I was too young to know what was going on. And I forfeited my mind and I became a slave. And that is why I am here, because I know what happens to a human being. I know that you feel crazy. I know that you begin to behave like a different person. And because you're not allowed to be yourself, you can't have your thoughts and feelings. So you become what other people are just to belong in the tribe, because the backlash, the severity of punishment, it's too much. You can't bear under the weight of the attack, especially when you're young. So I'm wanting to help you understand that there's a different kind of rape happening right now, every day in your life, and I want you to protect yourself from it. Again, it's much easier to see a physical rape and understand what happened and why you feel the way you do, but it's very, very difficult to discern when you're being mentally raped. So thank you, Meerloo. I'm going to touch on 4 little things here. I'm not sure if this was an exact quote, but right here: tyrants have a contempt for reality and an overwhelming compulsion to control everything and everyone to conform to their delusions. And I would say that basically wraps up what I have watched in these last few years up to this point of the last election. I'm not simply talking about bureaucratic administrative government tyrants. I'm talking about American citizens. The tyranny that I have witnessed in American citizens where they have a contempt for reality. They're not willing to research anything. And they are pounding and pounding and pounding you and needing to control everybody. For what I see is their delusion. Because they're not open to hearing the other side of things and seeing that there are other things going on. And so this tyranny is really, I feel like it's dominating all social spheres. Oftentimes we'll say totalitarianism comes from, the upper government. But we all know that narcissism is rampant in our country. It's rampant in the families. It's rampant in relationships and marriages and parents with children. And so I see narcissism as just another name for tyranny, for being a tyrant. Because we know narcissists, they're in a delusion and they need to control everything and everyone to conform to that delusion because they cannot stand that they are guilty or that they are wrong. Because they have to have all power and they need to use terror to control you, and they bewilder you with too much talking, which I will lead to right now. Meerloo calls it a verbocracy, and I love that because we know narcissists who are way too verbose. They talk, and they bring you into a bewildered, chaotic, confused fog. Like, what's going on? I don't even know what's true. And so I want you to be aware of some of the symptoms of being around a verbocrat, I guess we'll call them, is that you will be confused. You will feel an intense dissonance of like, this does not make sense. And they will pound you and want to talk you into submission. They will not let you speak. If you present a very reasonable argument, they're going to attack you, which we have seen. I mean, how many of us have seen 1,000 videos of the right and the left warring, where generally it is the left, when they're asked a reasonable question, they rear up with such a rabid, hateful attack. It usually is like, F you, like they don't have anything to say to rebut the question, or it's just belligerent emotion. So beware of verbocracy, and beware. I know there's a lot of podcasters now, and there's a lot of talking, and I'm concerned for your young, undeveloped mind that has been forced into activism way too early. I'm concerned that you don't realize that your mind has been raped. And I want you to understand that it is this serious. It is this severe, and this word needs to be used because you have been molested and raped with thoughts from people that are delusional. They're forcing it on you. They are penetrating your mind, and it will make you sick to have lies in your head. When we live a life pursuing truth, that supports sanity. So most mental illness, especially when you have very serious mental illnesses, we know that they're based in delusional thinking. And it seems that we are now normalizing a deluded, insane mind of people who I see as tyrants that are forcing their delusion on everybody because they cannot handle the truth. And that is just like a child throwing a tantrum. The other thing is, Meerloo calls it labelomania. So I want you to be aware of when someone comes around you and starts throwing around this simplification of just labeling everything and everyone. Like, oh, you're just a white supremacist. Or, oh, you're homophobic. Or, oh, you're this, or, oh, you're that. And they label. Or you go to a therapist and they label you, now you've got depression because you like to take a nap in the afternoon. Or whatever's going on with this. I mean, I have been labeled over and over and over again in my pursuit of coming out of this tyrannical culture. And at times I have taken a label. I thought that must be true. I actually did take the traumatic stress and the complicated stress, complex traumatic stress, because I really did have all the signs and symptoms of that. And that helped me for a time, but I'm not going to take it as a lifelong label. I see the labeling is a way for us to not think critically. We don't have to think with any kind of complex understanding of the nuance of history or of personal experience or of human nature. So be careful when you're listening to someone talking in a way that it's just label, 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 and they're labeling you and they're labeling everybody, and they just want it to be that all or nothing. That kind of thinking is very, very immature. And of course, totalitarian tyrant minds are immature. They're infantile children throwing tantrums because they want what they want. And as they get older, they just want power over people. And that can just be one husband wanting power over a wife, or a parent having a power over a child, or government, of course, having power over the entire nation. And that's where we have mass delusion, where they're able to break down the mind of a human being so completely on such a mass scale that now everyone is believing the delusion. And sadly, I grieve to think we're moving in that direction, because there are so many young people that their minds have been raped. They have been so molested with lies and confusion and chaos that sadly they believe these things now. And they're becoming now a part of the problem, because they too have that mindset of forcing everyone to think what they think. In addition to this, now mind you, this was 1950s, and I'm going to read this one paragraph to you so you can understand that technology addiction did not just recently start, that this has been going on for a long time. Now we're looking at almost 70 years since the inception of the TV. So radio and television catch the mind directly, leaving children no time for calm, dialectic conversation with their books. The view from the screen doesn't allow for the freedom-arousing mutuality of communication and discussion. Conversation is the lost art. These inventions steal time and steal self-awareness. Technical intrusion usurps human relationships, as if people no longer had to give one another attention and love anymore. Children educated in this way prefer to be alone, with fantasies to escape into and gadgets to play with. Mechanization pushes them into mental withdrawal. I have been concerned about the prolific nature of fantasy in our country, both between the old and young people, because I know that is the way that totalitarian people, narcissists, and governments move in, because you are withdrawn, you are in a delusion, fantasy land, you are wanting to be entertained all of the time. And they're just moving in and taking over on your life and your rights and your freedom, and they're pumping you with more lies, penetrating you with more intrusive, bureaucratic and administrative and political agendas, and it's wearing you out, and you get more tired, and you go deeper into your addiction because you can't deal with it. So no, this is not uncommon. I mean, this has been going on for a long, long time. So if you have an addiction to your phone, and you are wanting to escape, there's something going on there. There's a reason for this. It might first start in your own home. You're wanting to escape your parents and whatever's going on. But the way that these inventions can be used by propaganda and agendas of controlling people, it's tragic and devastating, and we have to be aware of what's going on. So I don't want your time to be stolen. I don't want your quest to understand yourself, really know yourself, to be stolen. The only label I want you to have would be your name, because you are unique in this world. There's no one else like you if you truly exist. Because I would say oftentimes, I mean, most of these young kids don't truly exist. They've just taken the labels to join some club to feel like they belong somewhere. Because in this environment, this climate, if you want to have different thoughts or feelings, you are attacked. And you will be scapegoated, and you will be kicked out, and you will be alone. And we can't bear that loneliness. But we can see also, look what's happening. I mean, these kids, back in this time, they would prefer to be alone, because they can't stand what's going on. They can't deal with reality. Because ultimately, we need a loving, attentive parent to help us come into the truth. Sometimes really drag us into the truth, because it can be very difficult. So I want you to be aware of what this technology addiction, what this phone addiction actually is doing. I mean, it is raping you. And I'm going to be using that word because you need to understand the severity of what's going on. So hopefully you will fight back as if you were being truly violated. And when I came into the awareness of this, this is when I began to really start fighting against the narcissists in my life. And I know I'd have to gray rock and be mellow because I didn't want to have the eruption that they would, the volcanic eruption that they would commit. But when I understood the violation, I got very, very serious. Like, if this person was actually physically trying to violate me, I would be so angry and I would fight back. So when I know it's happening mentally, people don't always see it in me, but I am stepping back and I'm very strong-fisted and saying no. I don't even have to say no. Sometimes it's like, I'm not available right now. I don't have time to discuss that. Or, I have to research that more later. But if I really feel that someone is pushing on me in a way that is becoming violating, and they're not open to a healthy civil discourse in pursuit of truth, I will not give them my time or energy because I know they don't want to ever change. They just want to pound me into submission. And I refuse to be a slave, and I don't want you to be a slave either. So be aware of verbocracy. When someone is talking, talk, and it's crazy and bewildering and you don't know what's going on and they're wanting to force you into submission. Be aware of this oversimplified labelomania, whether it's in the political realm or the mental illness realm, or they're wanting to label you. Any way they're trying to be really divisive, get away from it. Do not engage in that kind of conversation, because a real healthy debate with a true truth seeker is not going to be labeling everybody and oversimplifying everything and shutting down real evidence. And remember that many people in this country right now, in their tyrannical verbocracy and labelomania, they are insane. You must know they are in a delusion and they do not want the truth. And if you waste your time and energy talking to them, you might as well go to an insane asylum and pull up a chair and listen to the craziness of people who have been completely consumed with their delusions. You're not going to get anywhere, and you're wasting your time and energy. And what I want for you, especially today, right now, is not invest so much time listening to all the talkers that are just leading you on all these big, worry about this next big chaotic thing that's happening in the world, and this terrorizing thing, and this news, and then you're just tossed around and you're just, I got to learn all this and know all this, and I got to keep up with the latest. No, you don't. You need to get your mind. You need to get your mind back. You need to protect your mind. You need to put walls and gates and only allow those who bring you life and joy and health and peace and more of the truth and more of your truest self in God. Those are the people that you want around, because you're going to find health and sanity. That sanity will bring health to your bones. So I want my thought of what actively I would love for you to be pursuing to get away from all the tyranny is anything to do with food, clothing, and shelter. Learn something, get in the kitchen, get out in the workshop, go into a sewing room, pull out your sewing machine. Again, all of these skills are about fighting tyranny and not being dependent on bureaucratic, administrative, admin, people trying to control you. It's about being free, independent. And when you know how to preserve food, when you know how to build things, when you know how to repair clothes, you are ahead of the game. So that's where I want you to actively be pursuing these skills so that you can get away from the tyrannical minds, even if it's your own neighbor, even if it's your parent. I mean, I'm sorry to say that this tyranny is widespread, and we oftentimes want to blame the illegal immigrants or undocumented aliens or whatever you want to call them, migrants or something. I see that the problem is the rottenness that is just, it's rotting our country from the inside out. This narcissistic, tyrannical citizenship, these people that are just pounding, they're right, I'm right, and we're fighting and we're divided, and a house that's divided will not stand. But if you can grow up, gain a mature mind, get sane, get smart, and get skills, and learn how to have healthy civil discourse, you will be able to preserve this country despite disagreement. So please join me with the rites of passage and all these different skill sets and everything that you wish your mother told you. Because this isn't just about growing up to live like a 50s American dream. This is about learning to fight against tyranny. That's why I am here. All right, so check out this book, The Rape of the Mind by Joost Meerloo, and get on with getting your mind back. And when you sense someone trying to violate you, I want you to fight back. Whether you do it with silence, whether you just walk away quietly with kindness, or whether you get up in their face and say, you will not speak to me that way. All right, till next time, take care, bye-bye.